Welcome to the Fan2Fan Podcast 5 Minute Frights, wherein, give or take 5 minutes, we'll try to share something creepy, kooky, mysterious, spooky, something fun and frightful that you can add to your to-watch queue as we all get ready for Halloween season. My name is Bernie Gonzalez, and on this episode, we're talking to Fan2Fan All-Star Alan as we discuss one of his favorite freaky films, the 1987 horror comedy, The Lost Boys.
Michael and Sam are about to discover a secret in California.
Santa Carla's crawling with vampires.
Stay back! Stay back!
I'm your brother, Sammy! Help me!
What's happening, Mini Star?
My own brother, a blood-sucking vampire.
You better get yourself a Garland t-shirt, buddy.
Will you wait till Mom finds out?
Has everyone gone crazy here?
The Lost Boys.
Schumacher. David versus Michael versus David, the guy with the saxophone in the purple pants. And
oh boy,
all that.
I still believe
all that baby oil. The Coreys. I mean, let's just say, like, Lost Boys, I think, is probably that vampire movie that gets all of us. Lost Boys made vampires cool. Lost Boys made vampires. Vampires have always been sexy. They made them punk rock sexy. Yeah.
Exactly. Modern sexy.
Sure.
I think for sure. I think before that, you're looking at vampires who are dressed in
everything felt more
really
gothic, more like feels dated. Exactly. And the other part too is, like, with a lot of those, it always feels like those vampires, it's a curse. It's like an instinct where they have to feed, but it doesn't necessarily always feel like something that they enjoy, versus Lost Boys, where you're like, oh no, like, you kind of want to be part of this group because they're living it up. Like, they're using their newfound powers, and like, it's not a curse for them. It's a good time.
It's almost like an addiction. That was kind of the first movie that portrayed it in that way, where they were having fun with it.
The vampire gang, the vampire punk rock gang, they're led by Kiefer Sutherland, and Alex Winters is in there as well as the little one. When you think about it, what they're doing is they're walking around the boardwalk every night, picking fights. They're just roughhousing, or they think there's going to be a real fight, and then they walk away, and then they go and they kill you savagely in the parking lot afterwards because you stepped to them. I mean, it's like really, it's kind of twisted the way that they that they make enemies and then they go kill them and eat them. The lead vampire runs the video store, which I think is timeless for all of us who grew up loving video stores. It comes together in that way that only 80s films came together, where, like, you have a bunch of different things happening, a bunch of different characters moving towards the same final scene, the same final battle. And when they all get there, it really pays off. And then there's just all the stuff that builds up to it, like Michael turning into a vampire played by Jason Patric. The famous scene, you're eating worms, Michael. And, I think that there's the love angle in it with Star and Michael. And
I love that doesn't overwhelm the plot, though. There's the love story, but it's not the focus. Mm-hmm. And the surprise of the vampire leader. I remember the first time I watched that, I was not expecting it at all. And it was a really good surprise.
Very cool.
And I like that you've got vampires in this movie that are more than okay with being vampires. Like, a lot of times you'll get vampire films where it explores, like, the despair of, being undead for eternity and what that means and all that. Like, these vampires are just embracing it. They're having fun with it. And I think that was a nice fresh take on the lore to see them just being like, they're we've got no problem with this. Yeah, we're having the time of our lives doing this. I think now that, when you mention Max being the vampire leader, that I hadn't really thought about this before, but how he ends up turning all of them, because I think it's a lot of I know, like, with the allegory to, like, Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, but there's a lot of, like, these are, like, missing teenagers, right? So, like, him kind of preying upon that is kind of disturbing when you think about it a little bit, because it's him. And then you've got a bunch of, like, these, teenage runaways that he's preyed upon to kind of build his little coven with.